The bell above the cafe door chimed softly as Harper stepped inside, brushing a strand of wind-tangled hair from her eyes. The early morning in Portland, Oregon was gray and misty, but the cafe glowed with a warm amber light. Fresh coffee, maple syrup, and soft indie music filling the air. Harper paused at the entrance. Her breathing was shallow. Her eyes carried a tired heaviness, not the kind that comes from a sleepless night, but the kind that comes from a hurting heart. She pulled her jacket tighter around herself and scanned the room. Every table was full, couples chatting, college students typing, old friends laughing over steaming mugs. Harper swallowed hard. She wasn't good at taking up space, not anymore. Just as she turned, almost ready to leave, she noticed a small table near the window, occupied by a man and a little girl. The man, Ethan, looked to be in his early 30s. Warm eyes, slightly unshaven, flannel shirt. The kind of person who didn't try to impress anyone and still seemed kind. And across from him sat Lily, a 6-year-old with bouncing curls and a pink sweater decorated with cartoon stars. Ethan was leaning over, gently guiding Lily's tiny hands as she tried to cut her pancakes with a plastic knife. "Slowly, sweetheart," he said. "Let the knife do the work." Lily giggled. "Daddy, I am letting it do the work. It's just taking too long." Ethan laughed softly, an easy, genuine sound, the kind of laugh that made the space around him feel safe. Harper's eyes lingered on them. A father teaching patience, a child learning joy, a moment she hadn't felt close to in a long time. She shifted her weight uneasily, clutching her bag strap. There were no other seats, and she couldn't stand outside again like yesterday, pretending she didn't need to sit, pretending everything was fine. Her chest tightened. She took a slow breath, steadying herself, gathering every drop of courage she had left. Her steps were hesitant but determined as she approached the table. Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper. Excuse me." Ethan looked up, surprised but polite. Lily paused mid-bite. Harper forced a small, fragile smile. "The cafe is full, and I was wondering if I could maybe sit here for a moment." Her fingers shook slightly on her bag strap, but she tried to hide it. Ethan's eyes softened immediately. He didn't hesitate, not even for a second. "Of course," he said with genuine warmth. "Please, have a seat." Lily grinned and scooted her plate to make space. Harper felt her breath release, like she had been holding it for days. She pulled out the chair slowly, lowering herself into it with quiet care. Outside, the Portland drizzle thickened. Inside, something unexpected was beginning. A soft shift in the air, a moment of human kindness. The first thread of a connection Harper didn't know she needed. A moment that would change everything that came after. Harper hadn't planned to stay long. Just enough to steady her breathing, to remind herself she still existed in the world. She stood in line quietly, trying to ignore the buzzing noise in her ears. The way her heartbeat felt too loud for such a calm morning. When the barista handed her a small tray with a muffin and herbal tea, Harper tried to smile back, but even that gentle gesture felt heavy. As she stepped away from the counter, her fingers trembled around the tray. The tremor wasn't from the weight. It was from everything she'd been carrying inside her chest for weeks, maybe months. A few drops of tea rippled dangerously near the rim of the cup. "No, not now," she whispered under her breath. She inhaled shakily, trying to keep the tray steady, but her hands wouldn't stop trembling. Her eyes darted around the cafe again. Every table taken, every seat filled, every spot except one. The same small table near the window, the one where Ethan and Lily sat. Ethan was wiping syrup off Lily's chin, patient and gentle, completely unaware that someone across the room was falling apart quietly. Harper hesitated. She didn't want to bother anyone, didn't want to ask for space, didn't want to be a burden. But her tray shook harder, and she knew she had no choice. She needed a place to sit. Just for a minute, just long enough to stop her hands from betraying her. Gathering the last bit of courage she had left, Harper approached the table. Her voice was barely there when she spoke. Excuse me. Ethan looked up instantly, eyes warm, alert, attentive in a way that made her chest tighten. Yes, he said gently. Harper swallowed hard. Her fingers tightened around the tray. Her shoulders rose in a nervous breath. Can I sit here? She asked softly. I just need a minute. She didn't explain why. She couldn't, but the slight shake in her voice told a story Ethan didn't need words to understand. For a brief second, Harper braced herself, expecting hesitation, discomfort, a polite excuse. She had gotten used to that, but Ethan didn't hesitate, not even for a heartbeat. Of course, he replied, moving his coffee closer to his side. You're welcome to sit with us. Lily beamed and pushed her crayons aside to make more room. Harper exhaled, a small sigh escaping her lips, more relief than breath. Thank you, she whispered, setting her tray down carefully. As she sat, Ethan noticed the tremor in her hands. He didn't comment on it. He didn't stare. But something inside him softened, an instinct only parents and deeply empathetic people naturally have. A quiet understanding passed between them, unspoken but real. Harper kept her eyes lowered, yet she could feel Ethan's kindness like a warm blanket around a cold heart. There was still no sign of what pain she carried. But the first thread had been pulled. The emotional connection had begun, and Ethan, without even meaning to, had stepped into a moment that would change the course of both their mornings. And maybe more. Harper sat with her shoulders slightly curled inward, as if she were trying to make herself smaller, trying not to disturb the warm little world Ethan and Lily shared at the table. She placed her tray down gently. Too gently, like she was afraid even the smallest sound might break something inside her. Are you okay? Ethan asked softly, not prying, just noticing. Harper forced a quick nod. Yes, I'm fine. The words came wrapped in uncertainty. She avoided his eyes, but even without looking up, she could feel him watching her with quiet concern. The kind of concern that wasn't overbearing, just real. Lily, meanwhile, smiled at Harper with the easy openness only children have. Do you like blueberries? She asked, holding up a pancake shaped like a crooked heart. Harper's lips twitched into the faintest smile. I do, she whispered. The warm innocence in Lily's voice loosened something tight in Harper's chest. Ethan nudged a small cup of water toward her. Here, he said kindly. You look like you could use this. Harper hesitated before reaching for it, her fingers brushing his for a brief second. She pulled her hand back quickly, almost startled by the simple human contact. Thank you, she murmured. She lifted the cup, but her wrist trembled again. She immediately lowered it, rubbing the spot where a faint mark peeked beneath her sleeve. She prayed he didn't notice. But Ethan noticed everything. He didn't comment, didn't ask, yet his expression softened with quiet worry. He recognized the signs. He'd seen them before, in people who tried too hard to look okay. Harper kept her gaze on the table, eyes darting everywhere except his. Every time the cafe door chimed or a cup clattered against the counter, she flinched just enough for him to see it. Ethan leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice. You're safe here, he said gently. Harper's breath caught. She didn't look up, but her fingers froze on her sleeve. For a moment, she forgot how to breathe. I'm sorry, she said suddenly, her words tumbling out too fast. I didn't mean to interrupt your breakfast. I didn't think anyone would mind if I sat. I should have asked someone else, or maybe I should have. Hey, Ethan interrupted softly, lifting a hand. It's okay, really. Harper swallowed hard, still rubbing her wrist. Lily slid a crayon drawing across the table, a picture of a bright yellow sun with 3 smiling stick figures. This is you now, Lily said proudly, pointing at the 3rd stick figure. You look sad, so I made you smiling. The paper trembled as Harper picked it up. Her throat tightened. Her eyes grew glassy. That's very kind, sweetheart, she whispered. Ethan watched her carefully, sensing there was more behind her trembling voice, more behind the way she couldn't sit fully still, more behind those tired eyes she kept hiding. But he didn't push. He just offered presence, calm, steady, patient. Sometimes that was all someone needed, and Harper felt it, a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. A small sliver of safety in a world that had felt far too heavy. Their small talk continued in gentle waves, but each moment revealed a little more of her hidden pain, piece by piece, breath by breath. And Ethan, without knowing her story, responded with the one thing she had forgotten could exist: unconditional kindness. Harper had been holding herself together with thin, shaking threads. She tried to sip her tea again, but her hands were trembling so visibly now that even she couldn't pretend anymore. She set the cup down too quickly. And that's when it happened. A simple napkin slipped from her fingers and fell to the floor. Just a napkin. But the soft, fluttering sound as it landed broke something she'd been holding inside. Her shoulders tightened, her breath hitched, her vision blurred for a moment, tears gathering before she could stop them. She froze, staring at the napkin on the floor, as if it were something heavier, something that carried the weight of everything she'd been trying so hard to hide. Ethan noticed immediately. Hey, he said softly, it's okay, I'll get it. But Harper shook her head abruptly, her voice cracking. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to drop it. Ethan blinked, surprised at the intensity behind such a small moment. It's just a napkin, he said gently. You don't need to apologize. But Harper's chest was rising and falling too fast now. Her eyes glassy, her fingers gripping the edge of the table like she needed something to anchor her. Lily looked up, confused, but quiet, sensing something serious. Harper took a shaky breath, then another. And then the truth slipped out in a trembling whisper she couldn't hold back anymore. I'm sorry. Her voice broke. I've been trying to keep it together. I lost my mom last month, and I haven't been okay. The words hung in the air, fragile and trembling, like they had been waiting to escape for far too long. Harper pressed a hand against her mouth, as if she regretted saying it out loud, as if grief were something she should apologize for. Ethan didn't speak at first. He just looked at her, really looked. His eyes softened with something warm and steady, understanding, compassion, recognition of a pain he knew far too well. No judgment, no shock, no pity, just presence. Ethan reached slowly across the table, stopping halfway, giving her space to choose. You don't have to be okay right now, he said quietly. His voice was calm, deep, grounding. I'm really sorry you're going through that. Harper wiped her eyes quickly, embarrassed. I didn't mean to bring this here. I didn't mean to cry in front of you. I didn't mean to. Harper, Ethan interrupted softly. You don't have to explain grief. Her lips trembled. He continued in the same warm, steady voice. When my wife passed, I couldn't hold a fork without shaking for weeks. The smallest things would break me. He paused, gentle. So trust me, you're not alone, and you're not a burden. Harper's breath caught, his words hitting a tender part of her heart she'd tried to lock away. Lily, with innocent kindness, reached over and placed one of her crayons in Harper's hand. It's okay to be sad, she said in a small voice. My daddy said sad people need extra gentle. Harper's tears spilled then, not loudly, not dramatically, just soft, quiet tears that had been waiting for a place to fall safely. And here, at a small window table in a crowded Portland cafe, she finally felt safe enough to let them. Ethan didn't rush her, didn't try to fix anything. He simply sat with her, patient, steady, warm. And in that moment, Harper felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. She wasn't invisible. She wasn't alone. Her pain had been seen without judgment. And somehow, that was the beginning of healing. Harper tried to blink her tears away, embarrassed by how quickly she had fallen apart in front of strangers. But Ethan didn't look uncomfortable. He didn't shift awkwardly or glance around hoping the moment would pass. He stayed exactly where he was, present, grounded, steady. Harper dabbed at her eyes with a corner of her sleeve. "I'm sorry," she murmured again. "I don't usually cry like this. I've been trying to hold everything together for so long." Ethan let out a quiet breath, one that carried its own weight. "I get it," he said softly. "More than you know." Harper looked up for the first time, her red-rimmed eyes meeting his. There was something in his expression, familiar pain, softened by time but not erased. "When Lily was just a baby," Ethan began, his voice calm but touched with a gentle ache, "I lost my wife." Harper's breath hitched. Ethan continued, speaking with a slow honesty that didn't ask for sympathy, just connection. "One day, I had a partner, a best friend, a future," he said. "And the next day, I was learning how to warm up bottles at 2 a.m. with shaking hands, because I couldn't stop crying long enough to do anything right." Lily looked up at him with a soft innocence, as if she knew this was part of their story, but didn't fully understand the depth of it. Ethan's eyes stayed on Harper. "I know what silent pain feels like," he said. "I know how heavy it is when you're trying to act normal for the world, even though everything inside you feels shattered." Harper swallowed hard, her heart tightening. She wasn't planning to open up today, not like this. But somehow, Ethan's voice was the kind that made you feel safe, even when you were falling apart. He leaned forward slightly, not intruding, just offering space. "Listen," he said gently, "you don't have to fight everything alone. Sometimes sitting with someone is the first step to breathing again." Harper's lips parted as if she wanted to respond, but no words came out. Only emotion. She hadn't told anyone how lost she felt. Not a friend, not a neighbor, not a co-worker. She had avoided conversations, avoided eye contact, avoided the world. Until this moment, when all the walls she'd built were starting to crack under the weight of someone's genuine kindness. Harper let out a shaky exhale. "Ethan," she whispered, I didn't think anyone would understand." "I do," he said simply. That sincerity hit deeper than anything else. Lily reached across the table again, tiny hand resting on Harper's sleeve. "My daddy says when people hurt, they need soft voices," Lily announced with childlike wisdom. Ethan smiled warmly at his daughter, pride and love reflecting in his eyes. And Harper felt something shift inside her, small but undeniable. Not a cure, not a miracle, just a quiet beginning. A breath returning to a place she thought was gone forever. For the first time in weeks, Harper didn't feel like she was drowning alone. Sitting here with a kind stranger and his bright-eyed daughter, a fragile piece of hope flickered back to life. And that flicker was enough to begin healing. Harper stirred her tea absently, lost in thought, still feeling the fragile warmth of connection that Ethan had offered her. She didn't notice Lily doodling on a scrap of paper with vibrant, careless strokes. Ethan, watching both Harper and Lily, reached across the table and handed Harper the little drawing. "It's from Lily," he said softly, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. She says you're brave. I think she's right. Harper's eyes widened. The simple drawing, a bright sun shining over 3 stick figures, felt heavier with meaning than anything money could buy. Her fingers trembled as she took it. I don't know what to say, Harper whispered, touched more than she realized. Then don't say anything, Ethan replied gently. Just keep it. You deserve to see it every day. Lily beamed. See, Daddy said you're brave. Harper laughed softly through the tears, a lightness she hadn't felt in weeks. As they finished their breakfast, Ethan nudged his coffee cup toward Harper. I've got this, he said casually, slipping his card across the table. Consider it my way of saying, you're not alone, okay? And if you ever need to talk, call me anytime, really. Harper hesitated. The idea of trusting a stranger so fully was foreign, but something about the calm certainty in his voice made her want to believe. Thank you, she murmured, voice tight. Ethan nodded, not waiting for anything more. Sometimes, kindness didn't need a response. Before Harper could gather her things, Ethan stood up. Listen, he said, the rain looks heavier outside. If you want, I can drive you a bit, just to make sure you get somewhere safe. Harper froze. Safety. That word had been missing from her life for too long. Her throat tightened. She nodded, nearly unable to speak. Ethan pulled on his jacket, motioned for Lily to grab her small backpack, and opened the door. The rain had started drizzling harder, mist curling along the streets. Harper followed, holding the drawing tightly in her hands. No one said much on the walk to his car. Silence was comfortable, a shared understanding that sometimes words were unnecessary. Ethan opened the passenger door for her. After you, he said simply. Harper sat down, and the warmth of the car felt like more than just heat. It felt like someone cared, truly cared. As they drove, Harper glanced at Lily in the back seat, who waved at her with a small, encouraging smile. Harper returned the smile, a flicker of hope blooming inside her. It was a small gesture, a drawing, a meal, a safe ride. But for Harper, it was monumental. It was proof that someone could see her pain, accept it, and still offer kindness freely. And sometimes, that was enough to start believing that life could be gentle again. Harper sat in the car, hands folded tightly in her lap, the drawing from Lily still clutched like a lifeline.
Her chest ached, not from the grief itself, but from the sudden, overwhelming weight of realizing she had allowed herself to lean on someone again. She looked out the window at the rain streaking across the glass, swallowing hard. I'm so sorry, she whispered, voice trembling. I didn't mean to burden you and Lily with all of this. My sadness. My everything. Her eyes glistened, fear and guilt mingling in the quietude of the car. She felt small, fragile, like she had overstepped some invisible lines she had built around herself for protection. Ethan's hand rested lightly on the steering wheel, calm and steady. A glance at her through the rearview mirror. Harper said softly, his tone warm, grounding, deliberate. You're not a burden. Harper blinked, her chest tightening further. You're a person who deserves kindness, he continued. Everyone does. And you've carried so much alone for so long. It's okay to let someone be here for you. That's not weakness, it's human. The words hung in the air, gentle but undeniable. Harper's throat tightened, tears brimming again, but this time they weren't just grief, they were release. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, she felt the walls she had built around herself start to crumble. The weight of being alone is just enough to let a fragile, warming light in. Lily, unaware of the depths of the moment but sensing the shift, pressed a small hand on Harper's arm from the backseat. You're okay, the little girl said simply. You're brave. Harper managed a shaky laugh, feeling both overwhelmed and comforted. The drawing in her hand, the warmth of the car, the gentle presence of Ethan and Lily, it all combined into something she hadn't felt in a long time, safety. Isen didn't terrus her tears, didn't offer platitudes or fix anything. Simply remained present, letting Harper feel seen and valued without conditions. Her voice cracked as she finally whispered, "Thank you, for letting me be human." Isen smiled softly, eyes full of compassion. "You've always deserved it. You just needed someone to remind you." The car hummed quietly as the rain drummed against the roof. Outside, the world went on, chaotic and loud. Inside, for Harper, the storm had paused. And for the first time in a long while, she could breathe. The drizzle had softened to a light mist by the time Isen pulled up near the corner where Harper needed to go. She gathered her belongings slowly, her fingers lingering on Lily's drawing, tracing the brick yellows and with a soft smile forming on her lips. For the first time in what felt like forever, her chest felt lighter. Not completely free of pain, but lighter enough to breathe without fear. "Thank you," Harper said quietly, her voice steadier than before. "Really, thank you both. For everything." Lily waved enthusiastically from the backseat. "Bye. You're brave," she called, her small voice carrying a sweetness Harper would never forget. Harper waved back, feeling a warm blossom inside her chest. It was strange, unexpected, but deeply comforting. Someone had seen her. Someone had let her feel safe. And she hadn't been judged for her sadness or her tears. Isen opened the door for her. "Take care of yourself," he said simply. "Remember, you're not alone." Harper nodded, clutching Lily's drawing like a talisman. As she stepped onto the misty sidewalk, she took a deep breath. The air felt fresher, the world softer, the rain somehow gentler. Isen turned to Lily, his eyes soft and proud. "Always help people when you can," he said, glancing back at Harper for a fleeting moment. It could change their whole day, or even their life. Lily nodded, her curls bouncing as she absorbed the lesson naturally. "Yes, that is," she said, smiling. Harper walked away slowly, a small smile tugging at her lips. Her steps were careful, but lighter. There was still grief in her heart, there always would be, but for the first time in weeks, she felt hope creeping in. A stranger had offered kindness without hesitation. A small act had reminded her that humanity, warmth, and empathy still existed in the world. And as the rain continued to mist softly over Portland, Harper realized something profound. Healing didn't have to be sudden. It didn't have to be complete. It just had to begin. With that thought, she let herself smile a little wider. With that thought, she let herself breathe again. And somewhere behind her, in a cozy cafe filled with the quiet warmth of a single dad and his little girl, two lives had intertwined in the simplest, most human way. A kind act. A shared moment. A reminder that sometimes, the smallest gestures could carry the heaviest love. The world felt gentler now. And Harper knew she could face it, one step, one breath, one kind gesture at a time. The cafe's bell chimed softly behind her as Harper walked away, the mist of Portland settling gently around her. Her fingers still clutched Lily's brick little drawing, now slightly smoothed from the rain, but perfect in meaning. Her steps were slow, deliberate, carrying a weight that felt lighter than before. Every breath felt a little easier. Every heartbeat a little brave. As she walked, a quiet voice whispered in her mind, her own, strengthened by the day's small miracles. That day, a stranger didn't just give me a chair. He gave me strength he thought he had lost. Harper smiled softly to herself, letting the words settle in her chest. A stranger's kindness. A little girl's innocence. A warm hand that didn't rush or judge. Sometimes, it took just one moment, one act of genuine humanity, to remind a person that hope still existed. And for Harper, that hope was enough. She walked on, rain misting over her shoulders, carrying with her a quiet, resilient joy. The world still had pain, still had uncertainty. But it also had people who could see, who could care, who could give strength without expecting anything in return. Sometimes, a chair isn't just a chair. Sometimes, it's a beginning.